Hey, Brian, Thad Brown, man. Good to see you. How you doing?
Hey, Thad, how are you?
Not bad, not bad. I
Good.
wanted to know how much a concern it is for you Sunday with no fans and limited crowd noise in terms of being able to protect calls and checks and audibles and stuff like that. Not just in the game against the Jets, but going forward on everybody's TV copy when they're all scouting you guys going forward after this game.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to do a good job of self-scouting yourself as the season progresses, um, just to make sure you're protecting, calls and things like that. And it'll be a work in progress. We'll see how it goes. Our real focus right now is trying to play as good as we can and trying to be as prepared as we can against this team. But it's a good question. It's a well thought out question. We're going to have to do a good job of really doing a good job on self-scout.
Is that kind of in the category of the many number of things that you really can't practice for because of how different this season at least is going to start out to be?
Yeah, and again, and I've said this before, it's, our focus is really doing the things that we can control and adjusting and adapting to things that come up that may be a little bit new throughout the season. What that is and how that's going to look, I think that'll be a week-to-week process for us to make sure that we're doing our due diligence.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hey, Brian, John Scott. Good morning.
Hey, John. How are you?
Good.
Good.
I'll start off with a real hard hitter. Josh has new facial hair. I was wondering if you, in solidarity, were going to join him and bring back your fantastic look from a year ago.
No, I don't think my wife or my daughters were too happy about that. So, no, I'll leave Josh to that. That's fine.
I was curious, you've had over a month or so now with Stefon Diggs. What has he done or what have you seen from him that maybe has surprised you?
Well, it's first about getting to know the person before anything. And he's a really good man. He cares, about his family and his kid. And he's a pleasure to be around as a guy. He's got a lot of energy about him, and that rubs off on a lot of people. It's hard sometimes when you're coming into a new place to go ahead and assume the role of a leader because you're really concentrating and focusing on the things. You're learning a new playbook, you're learning your surroundings. You're not a rookie; you've been in the league for a while, but you're still kind of getting your bearings about yourself. I think he did a really good job with that. But he has really good moxie to him, and guys want to follow him. As a player, he's a good football player. I'm glad we have him. Look forward to the season working with him.
And how will game action really be the next step in the evolution between chemistry with him and Josh?
Well, you got to do it. I can't sit up here and tell you how it's going to look or not going to look. You got to go out there and you got to make the throws and you got to make the catches and you got to get open and the line's got to protect. Really no different than any other guy. Last year we went through it with Smoke and Bees and a couple of new rookies, and you hope you're just trying to improve throughout the year from week to week. The beginning part of the season is always a challenge. Going against the unknowns. Actually getting out there and getting hit and making sure you're doing the proper things you need to do to take care of the football. And, that'll be a process in and of itself.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian, Matt Perino here. How are you?
Good, Matt. How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
Obviously not a lot of work in the spring, but you've had a few weeks now to kind of get to know some of these new players. What have been your impressions of Zach Moss? Maybe anything that you learned about him that might be new in this time together?
Yeah, I kind of grouped Zach in with all the rookies, similar to the ones we had last year. But he's a mature young man. He's done a good job along with Kelly Skipper, who coaches him, and the guys in that room, and TJ and Motor of learning the stuff that we put on him. He's a smart young guy. He's mature. He's a young pro. Glad we have him.
And for Devin, what have you seen from him in kind of more of a leadership role this year and kind of owning that room a little bit more?
Yeah, Motor goes out and does his job. He's not a big talker, and that's fine. He knows what he's doing, and that's one of the steps to being a good leader is knowing what you're doing and then going out there and doing it well. For guys to sit there and listen to you, he's good within the running back room with him. I'm sure he's shared his stories about last year, but again, he's got his mind. He's done a good job for us.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Hi, Brian. Mark Gaughan here. Thank you,
Mark.
Thank you for doing this as always.
Sure.
I think I know you realize it, but fans are eager to hear your perspective always. So this is important for us. Last year in Week 17, Matt Barkley threw an interception in the Jets game on a really tough four-man pressure. I would put it on the quarterback, but however you slice it, it was not an easy read. Do you feel like Greg is going to put all of Josh's 2 years and 6 months of experience to the test, and Josh is going to have some tough reads here? What do you think about this week?
Yeah, well, I appreciate the question. Appreciate you guys too. Greg Williams is an outstanding football coach. There's a reason why he's been in the league for 29, 30 years, has a wealth of experience, and just has really good leadership skills about him. And he's very, very smart in terms of the defenses that he employs. He has a lot of packages with different people coming in and out. And again, what we're going to have to do is make sure that our rules are sound, because you never know what you're going to get really in any game. You can do your self-scout and you can really study the opponent. But with teams that have coordinators like Greg that change things up and mix things up, you're going to have a solid set of rules to make sure that we put ourselves in the best possible position. As far as what he's going to do or not do, I don't want to speak for Greg. I just know it's very challenging to prepare for a Greg Williams defense because of just all the things that he has, not just the different calls, but the different packages that he has with his players and the utilization of them. It's definitely going to be a challenge for all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian, it's Sal here. Good to see you.
Hey, Sal.
Hope your family's doing well as well.
Thank you, too.
You guys have a lot of flexibility in the offensive line. We know that. So players you brought in, whether that's drafting or free agency, we know they can play all over the place. I'd like to ask you about going back to when you came in the league and how much that's changed. Was it, back in the day, maybe just, hey, you were a tackle or you were a guard? Like, how much has football evolved even in, the 20 years or so you've been in the NFL to really have all of that?
Yeah, I think it's involved, but the system that I grew up in really preached flexibility, not just at the offensive line position, but at the receiver position, the tight end position, the running back position, the defense. The more you can do, the more you can do in this league. And who I learned under and how I learned the game, flexibility is very important. I think it helps you on game day with the amount of people that you have, but it also helps understanding the systems that you're putting in. You really, our motto is smart, tough, and dependable. And we know you need smart guys to be able to. You never know how it's going to go throughout the season. So not just with the line sale, but I would say with multiple spots for us, and I'll speak offensively, understanding multiple roles is very important.
And can you tell us a little bit about Reggie Gilliam?
Yeah, Reggie did a nice job in camp. He's an athletic guy. Really done a nice job with Rob Boris in the tight ends and learning from Lee and things like that. Just has some good explosiveness, has good power, some short space quickness about him. He's done a nice job for us. Again, if he's up and ready to go, we'll have a role for him.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Coach Daboll, good morning. Mookie Hawkins, Ruffle Sports 1080. How you doing?
Slick, man. You're slick.
I clean up well sometimes.
Yeah.
With this preseason and in this training camp, how impressed were you with your offense, most in particular rookies Gabe Davis and Zach Moss?
Well, again, that's a good question. I think the rookies, again, and I've said this before, they have so much to learn when they come in. And the thing that really did impress me about them is they take it day by day. They don't get too far ahead of themselves. There's plenty of things that we need to correct from them. There's no question about that, but that's usually the case with most rookies. They got their heads screwed on the right way. They work hard. They're good teammates. So, glad we have them.
Absolutely. And going forward, it is game day this Sunday. What are the expectations for this offense 2020?
Well, I don't really look too far ahead, and you know that. Our expectation is to go out there and have a good practice today and make sure we're understanding the things that we're putting in front of them. Again, like I told Mark, it's a challenging week. It always is a challenging week, opening week. But the different things that, you see on tape and, Coach Williams does, it's a challenge. So we can't get too far ahead of ourselves. Our focus is really taking it day by day and making sure that we put our best foot forward in practice today and give the players as many looks as we can give them so that we can go out there, correct them, and make sure we try to be as prepared as we can be.
Absolutely. Proper preparation prevents poor performance, Coach.
There you go. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Hey, Brian, Matt Fairburn. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, Matt.
Curious what you've seen from the quarterback center communication now that Mitch Morse is here for a second season.
Yeah, Mitch is, those are two hard positions, and they're the two positions that require the most communication. So the more you play with one another, the more you can kind of see it through the same set of eyes. Mitch has done a really good job for us up front, kind of being the general, the offensive line, and getting things, setting the table, so to speak. And I think the communication that he and Josh have is obviously really important just to get the play started. So, happy with Mitch. Glad he's here, and we're gonna, we'll be challenged right off the bat this week with that.
Yeah, definitely. I know you've been doing this a long time. You've had a lot of season openers, but what are some of your routines or the emotions that you feel kind of the night before that first game, maybe the morning of, to get you in the right headspace?
Yeah, you really try to make sure that your preparation leading up to that time is exactly the way you need it to be, so you can be in a very calm state of mind, very focused. You're going to have to adjust. You have to do it in every game. But again, you could be practicing things for the last, 3 practices that you don't get any of them. You run one play and you match it up with this particular look, and you might not get that. And he might do something completely different than you're anticipating. So, we're going to rely on really the assistant coaches and the players and the guys around myself who have all done a really good job in training camp up to this point of really buying in. But it helps when you have a really good support staff around you because you're going to need everybody.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian, Mike Catalana in Rochester.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, good to see you.
You too.
Zach Moss, you said he's mature, but I know I've heard a lot of coordinators through the years talk about trusting guys in protections.
Sure.
I haven't gotten a chance to see preseason or anything.
Yep.
Was it going to be a little bit of trial by fire to trust him enough and get him out there?
Yeah, well, I mean, the guys that are on our team, I trust, and I think we trust. You go through a thorough evaluation. In this case, just training camp, and some of the meetings we had in the Zoom meetings, and they're here for a reason. So in terms of putting them out there, whoever it may be, we trust them. Now, it's not easy. The protection question is real. And again, I'll just bring it back to this week. The communication will have to be on point because everything will get tested with Greg and the players that he has there. It's challenging, and you're going to have to improve from week 1 to the next week, and then the next week. But there's going to be some growing pains, I think, probably with everybody as we start the season, and we're just going to have to keep getting better and better. But that is extremely a tough area. Yeah.
One last quick thing. I ran into Chris Battaglia in Rochester.
All right.
He was bragging up coaching you back at the U of R. He said you flew around the field. Does he remember that correctly?
Yeah, he might be exaggerating a little bit, but I love Coach Tags. Great man. Learned a lot from him. Has a great family. Just always been very appreciative of him.